Oh. "1935, the Lions win the NFL championship. The Detroit Tigers take the World Series. The Red Wings bring home Lord Stanley's Cup. Joe Louis begins his rise to world domination. This transforms the Motor City into Detroit, City of Champions." There's the crack of the bat.
Somebody just stroked that hit, dude. I never really noticed before. Somebody just roped that hit.
They did. All right, so it's Detroit City of Champions, the podcast. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Charles Avison.
And telling the story. 1935, the amazing, astonishing, just historic, unbelievable season. I don't know how many more adjectives we can wedge in there.
Just 89 episodes in, and we're still going strong.
I keep coming up with new adjectives.
What more adjective do you need to say 89 episodes in?
That's it.
Talking about a single season, and we're still going strong.
Love it. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. Like, subscribe, comments are all welcome. Do all the podcast things in all the podcast places. Find us and like us and subscribe and collect and follow. Appreciate that. It makes a difference, and we appreciate you spending the time. It's cool because it's like, we got a number of people listening, and it's like, well, it's not huge numbers, but if you thought all these people sitting in a room, it'd be like, oh, okay, there's like
the group
400 people here sitting staring at me.
Yeah.
Now I'm nervous.
No, don't.
No, I'm
just
not.
don't picture them in their underwear, dude.
I'm not nervous. Well, what I'm nervous about is whether or not I have a snow day tomorrow. We record, people listen whenever, wherever, however, but we're recording here the second week of March
9th
already. And I just got a call for a snow day, but it's like the most ambiguous text. They text, they send an email.
Yeah, they said there might be.
And then they do a phone call too. And I'm going to try to pull up this phone call because I'm curious if they said the same idiotic thing on the phone call as they did in the text message. Because I just couldn't understand it. I'm like, people, I swear.
While you're doing that, I was going to tell you a quick story about.
On current weather predictions, we will be closing all Fraser Public Schools tomorrow, Friday, March 10th. Snow is predicted to be falling at its heaviest during the morning arrival. We will make an announcement regarding evening activities tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, well, there you go. So that's different. That's different. Yeah, it's closed. That's different than the text. The text was like ambiguous. It's like we're monitoring conditions.
So now
based on that.
So we're doing weather reports.
We'll be closing school. No, but just making me crazy. Well, it's whether or not I have another glass of wine while we're doing this.
That's a great point.
That's the cursor. It's like, because it's a school night.
It is related to the City of Champions.
It is. 100%. It's whether or not I get to have a second glass of wine.
That's an important
while we're doing the show tonight because I don't have to go to school in the morning.
That is a very important.
So
that is definitely related.
So this show is going to get real good.
Good. Glad he makes you happy.
You know what? But actually, Charles, the show is getting really good. It's only taken us nearly 90 episodes to break our stride.
I don't know. I think we caught it a while ago.
I know.
Thought we were like that again. I said again that Christmas show we did down in Portsmouth. That was like 15 episodes ago, and I thought we hit our stride. Awesome.
I know, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's I really enjoy it, and then it's like, okay, well, you talked about the Lions and the Red Wings and the Tigers, and it's like now you're going to talk about these other things. Yeah. And it's these, and we got into the story of Eddie Tolan, which led us to the side story of Willis Ward, and we're going to do more.
Yeah, I know. We're going to come back to Willis Ward. Yeah,
we got his grandson. I just friended his grandson on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
we just connected. Friend people. We connected on LinkedIn, and so I don't know if we're going to do a whole episode with Buzz or not, but I really do want to. It loops. I was playing again. All right. So, but I'm hearing my voice again. That's crazy. Anyway, but Buzz, we connected on LinkedIn, and because we keep talking about that. Oh, we got to talk to, because we've had people from involved with the boats, the Miss Americas, the Garwoods boats. We've had a few Tigers, like cousins and grandnieces and grandsons and daughters of some of the Tigers contact us and say, oh my God, I love that you're telling these stories. And so I was thinking coming up, we might do something around Champions Day and like pull in some.
I wanted to talk about that too,
pull
because
in
the
some family members.
Historical Museum wants us to come back out there.
Yeah,
on that Sunday.
I think that'll be fun.
Talked to Tracy. She said she wants us to come back out there.
I love it. So I some around Champions Day, because we'll probably do something for special for Champions Day, but around Champions Day this year, we're going to talk to some of the family members from some of these stories. But as we got into the Willis Ward story, and then we discovered the Black and Blue documentary,
yeah.
And who knew that Eddie
Brian
Dolan
was cool too, man. He's got a whole lineup of stuff. All of his DVDs they're all Michigan sport stories. They're really cool. Yeah.
So we got to expand on Willis Ward, who was very adjacent to the whole story.
Absolutely.
He was winning stuff.
He was one step away from being on the same, making it number 34 for the city champions.
Oh boy, I tell you,
yeah,
I gotta tell you, it's you gotta scratch your head and wonder.
I know it could have been Jesse Owens versus Willis Ward in the Olympics.
That would have been amazing. Love to see that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I just I love where the stories are going. It's like if they're not running. I thought. Honestly, I thought, I'm like, oh, are they going to run out of steam as we get into them? And it's not. But here's the problem, right? And we've said it before. It's the story is untold, and the story is genuinely unknown, right?
Yeah.
Okay, to prove that point, because who are we talking about tonight?
So we're talking about Dick Degener.
Dick Degener. So Dick Degener, Richard Degener is his formal name. And so, and you're like, there's his background information. There's not a lot in there. We're going to talk about him and all his stuff. And so I'm like, I'll see, but I can find just really quick. And then I was like, because the new thing is that whole Chat GTP, right?
Yeah.
Are
you using that thing?
Oh yeah.
Really?
It's a great tool. Right?
Careful, bro. Don't plug too deep into this stuff.
No, I know. No, it's
ChatGPT wants you to plug yourself into the machine.
Yeah, it's like create a quiz on how to write a good journalistic lead.
Yeah,
and it creates a little quiz on how to write a journalistic lead, and then you review it. And you're like, well, it's pretty spot on, And I adjust it a little bit, and then I can use that. It does some of the groundwork for me as I create work.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. If you use it as a tool. If you use it as an end product, not so much. If you use it as a tool to create, it's a useful tool.
Sure it is.
So, but I was like, all right, let's look up. Who are we looking up?
I'm just saying, be careful about plugging too deep in, bro.
Degener, yeah, right? Degener.
Dick Degener.
Dick Degener. So I looked up Dick Degener. I looked up Richard Degener. And what does Chat GTP say?
Shit, dude. That's what I'm saying.
What does Chat GTP say? It says, I'm sorry. I don't have any information about a person named Richard Degener. It's possible he's a private individual who hasn't gained any significant public attention, or there's been a misspelling or misunderstanding of the name. Without more context or information, it's difficult to divide an answer.
Yeah.
It's just funny. And it's like you are untold, and you had to dig and harvest.
Yeah, you had to do newspapers all day.
Kid today, and it's like, and not all kids. Some kids work their butts off, and they do diligent research, and they'll dive in and they'll go deeper. Most kids today, many kids today, a lot of kids today, not all, but it won't go any deeper than that, and then they'll go, oh, well, this guy doesn't exist.
Yeah,
because it doesn't come up through the AI search that I just did.
Yeah,
right. But that's the thing about the city of Detroit story. It's lost. It's lost.
It's a forgotten story.
And it's freaking Chat GTP couldn't even dig it up.
And that
makes me mad.
Well, yeah, dude. You're preaching to the choir. You're speaking to the choir here, because that's what I mean. Like, that's been one of the most difficult things to get over since the very beginning, or the most difficult thing to come, because like initially when I first came across the story, it evolved into the book and everything. When I first put out the book, the first book, I thought it was going to be akin to like, you almost like discover Tutankhamen, like you discover King Tut, like,
and everybody you'd have
people are gonna be on like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like basically, I viewed myself when I released the first book. I viewed myself as somebody who would had a major discovery. Okay. And then in the first book was a publication of my findings.
You were Indiana Jones. You're getting a whip and a hat, and you were on your way.
Well, I thought it was literally like, okay, like I didn't see myself as like a media person whatsoever.
Right.
In fact, my interest I named my company Diomedia Publishing after Diomedes, who's my favorite hero from the Trojan War, because that's really my foundational interest is Bronze Age history, in particular the Mycenaeans. That's my, with that whole, the whole region is become, but
I gotta scrape some of that nerd off my shoe.
Yeah,
keep going.
Yeah, but I'm saying like I wanted to return and write a book. One of my goals in life is to write a book that I've already got the title for. It's called The Lament of Diomedes. And I've already I've got a whole. It's almost gonna be like a modern day there's they had the Iliad, and then they had the Aeneid, which was a Roman sort of version of using a Greek character from that war to do their own sort of origin story. And then I wanted to do a update both of them and do like a 21st century version of the Iliad based on Diomedes, who's my favorite. Well, they call him Diomedes, but I wanted to do a modern day version of that. And so like the City of Champions just got in front of me, and I was like, hey, I gotta do this. Well, this is cool, but it's a nice stepping stone towards doing something bigger on on more of like a larger like world historical stage. Because I have information for the story of the Trojan War, which is akin to this, which is information that's never been talked about, putting two and two together to connect the dots on things. Like one of the things that I believe that I can prove, if given enough time and research time, I can prove that Heracles was a real person. He was not just a mythological figure. Like I've got information that I believe can prove that. I didn't start out to do that. It's what the information led. And so that was my goal. The City of Champions. I'm like, I'm going to publish this book, publish my findings. I'm going, I'm going to let the Detroit media do their thing.
Once they give me the ticker tape parade.
Well, I wasn't interested in the fame. I've never been interested in that. Yeah, no, but what I mean is I was actually more interested in the credibility of having, discovered one story and then using that as a foundation for grant
what
money.
What will his next expedition unravel?
Exactly. And having the bag and stuff, I just discovered one thing that's that nobody'd ever heard of. Well, now I want to do something bigger, which is the Trojan War, which is the story of Diomedes. This whole thing. And so, this lament of Diomedes, that's what I wanted to do. And I've got notebooks upon notebooks full of things I want to do for that. But the thing is, when I put the first book out, it was like, I might as well. I mean, it was a nothing.
Crickets,
It was crickets. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So so it just,
this is the greatest story in Detroit, if not in U.S. sports history.
Yeah.
If not world.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like what I was trying to get to with it was, I was like,
crickets.
I was talking to, I was putting this out there in the first year where I I got basically zero media interest whatsoever. And I'm like, you're going crazy. You start to go crazy. You start to is it me? Is it me? Is it do I think that this is something that's important and it really isn't, And then I met CT Bartlett, who was the guy who discovered this baseball analytics thing, which, that's what I'm into. That's what I do now. But the thing about it was, he was the one, when I saw his research on this baseball analytics, he had literally changed baseball forever. His discovery rewrote the entire foundational doctrine about what baseball is, how teams should be built, how the very definition of good was defined by CT's work, which might sound simple, but once you realize exactly what it is, that's one of the most profound concepts there is. Nobody has ever determined what the definition of good, a good player is in baseball. There's 8 million different definitions. Yep. And he defined it. And I'm like, this is the most amazing discovery ever. How is it that nobody's ever heard of you? Because I met him at an art show. Yeah. He was nobody ever heard of him either. He's walking around with a golf club for a cane, man. Nobody knew him. And he was like, and but when I talked to him, he was the one that told me, he was the first one to tell me, it's not you, it's them.
Yeah,
that's what he was the one, because I saw how great his was, and I was like, and he was the one it's not me, it's them. It's not you.
So
it's
we're
them.
trying to bring everybody over to our side,
and
enlighten people. about the story, and I love how the story's unfolding, and it doesn't has yet to cease to amaze me.
But just to finish the final line of thought on what I was saying, and also to piggyback what you're saying there, like this is not just some, like, I know that we're sort of a niche subject, we're Detroit sports history, more particular City of Champions history, right? No, that may be the case, but the thing about history, the thing about history that's so important is that is the things that you can learn from it. Not only do you learn who you are and how you got here, but there are many things when you talk about, like, when all these different sports teams that are out there, like spending hundreds of millions of dollars every year trying to win games. Okay, well, how about this? There was a year in which 33 championships came out of Detroit in a single year. 33 championships. When seeking to understand how to win, look about you. Yes. Look at the time where they had the greatest success of all time and say, maybe there's something that we could mine from the past that could be utilized to the modern day benefit of our teams. Maybe there's things that they did that didn't work and then changed it up and did. What I'm saying is there is legitimate, tangible value for studying history. There's things, if you look at it as an approach from what can I learn that can be applicable to the modern day, to the present and future, that you can actually have functional use for our benefit. And that's my entire, I've talked about this 100 times on the show already, but that's my belief in history. And that's what I believe, that this story is an untapped, just not, like, I even hate to say gold mine, because that's not even big enough to describe it. I mean, there's so much stuff in here that could be a benefit. I know.
We're well past the big three.
Yeah.
And it's still entertaining as all get.
Yeah.
So,
but I wanted to tell you here real quick before we get into Dick Degener.
No, we're done.
We're
done.
It's a totally
we're moving on.
thing.
Dick. It's all Dick time now.
No, it is.
Oh,
maybe speak for yourself.
Dick.
Maybe speak for yourself there.
I'm doing Tarantino now.
No, anyways, I thought I was going to tell you this before we got on the air, but then I said, let's save it because it's a City of Champions thing.
Oh.
So anyways, you good? All right.
I'm cracking myself up with the Tarantino.
At least there's one
Reservoir
of us. At least there's one of us laughing.
Okay, go ahead. So, but yeah, you want to, you're like, oh, I'm going to save it for the show. All right, what do you got?
So I'm running a little short on my first book right now. And so I was like, I have to get together a big print run order for Christmas. Like, it's 9 months away, but I have to.
It takes a long time.
I have to stack up cash for it. So, anyways, I was like, hold on a second. I just had this idea. I was like, what if on Amazon and eBay, there's a bunch of random people selling their books, right? That maybe they got for Christmas. Somebody just, because I've probably sold like 10,000 copies of my first book. Literally, I've been reprinting it like every couple of years for 12 years now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe there's, maybe I can get 20. Really, all I need is like 20 or 30 copies, and I can like go through one more Christmas and it'll be easier to stack up. Anyway, so I'm like, maybe there's some cheap books on there, right, that I can get my hands on. And so, anyways, so I look on there. And I saw the craziest things on Amazon and eBay, man. I haven't looked it up, but it's a strange thing when you're looking for like your own books or whatever.
Yeah.
On Amazon.
It's like buying your own used underwear.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like,
it's not.
But no, it's not like that at all.
That's that second glass of wine kicking in. I told you it was going to be a good show.
It's a great show.
For one of us. We might even get to our topic.
For one of us, it'll be a great show. Yeah, at least it's good for one of us.
All right, but looking yourself up is weird.
Yeah, it was weird. But anyways, so I'm looking it up, and one of the first listings I see on Amazon, it says City of Champions book, and it says buy new for $70. I was like, what?
Hey.
Should I sell them for 30?
Yeah.
Right. So
price is going up tomorrow.
But then it says below that, it says buy used for like $3.99, $3.99. Yeah. So I've never seen any book
such a
listed.
Disparity.
So on Amazon or whatever, or anything, that there's such a disparity between the new copy, which is like, it's going for 100%, like a 2x premium on the book, and then the used copy is chopped liver. Like they don't even want to use that, though. Use it as a shim to hold up the bottom of their table, or to hold up a shelf or whatever.
Right,
They're like, yeah, we buy those to hold up our shelves, like, I'm like, I was like, that's crazy. So I was like, and then I looked over on eBay, and it was basically the same thing. I saw trilogies on there. There are people selling trilogies on there for like $150. That's not for $100, like, they're like, this is numbered copy. Like they're like, I mean, it is right.
Numbered by the author.
Yeah.
Well, I was bored and doodling.
Yeah.
Really is what that
yeah.
was.
And then I also saw one. It was funny because it was a trilogy and an XL t-shirt.
Ooh.
And it was like it was like $120 or something. It was right about, or maybe I think it was like 105, 110, which is actually a good price because I sell the shirts for $28 or something. And so, anyways, I was like, shit, I might buy that back. And I saw a couple. I did see a trilogy on there for $65, which was like, that's actually worth it for me to buy it back because that's what I actually, that's right about what I, right around what I pay for the full set, anyways.
Right.
And so, this one's all packaged up and everything. But anyways,
and comes with a t-shirt.
But the funny thing was the t-shirt one. It was a shirt that I've done because I change up the colors every year or so, every couple of years.
Yeah.
And it was like I could see it. Like this is somebody somebody probably got it for Christmas, the trilogy and a t-shirt from somebody, and they're like selling it on eBay.
Time to move this on.
Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's like somebody selling it.
Thanks, Aunt Julie.
But it was just kind of,
I really appreciate
thanks.
it.
I'm going to sell it on eBay. So it was just kind of funny, but it was just odd because I was like, it was just weird. It was like, it was like, there's like a huge premium on because the ones that are going for $70 are like shrink wrapped, bookmarks and stuff with it, like the way I sell it. And then they're like used copy, $2.99,
$1
with with $1.99,
$1.
Yeah. So it was just kind of funny, and it's like, I mean, I would be tempted to buy some of those used ones, but I don't know but they're all like stock photos. You can't see how good a condition they're in.
Yeah, sure.
I need mint condition to sell.
Yeah.
Them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's people with mac and cheese stuck in the pages.
Yeah, I can't resell them. But it was just kind of funny. I was like, hey man, and so anyways, yeah, if you're thinking about buying a $70 copy off Amazon, just go to my website or come to the store and I'll get you one that's nice.
Yeah.
But that being said, there are some ones from back in the day that, because I numbered the first books. So if you see a numbered copy, I only numbered up to 2000. And so if you see numbered copies out there, I think that those actually should command a print. I mean, they're numbered. They're the first 2000 I ever sold. So there's, same with the second and third. The third books, I've still got numbered copies of the third ones, but this first and second numbered copies I'm sold out. So, so if you see that, I think there might be a premium on those. Maybe that is, I didn't look close enough, but maybe that's one of the ways they're selling them is the numbered copies. But
and then if you go to that numbered copy and you go to page 754, you're going to meet somebody.
Yeah, that's nice little callback to Dick Degener. Here we are, 754. Way to
I'm a teacher. I can read upside down.
Yeah,
I saw that.
Way to bring the subject back to its focal point.
Well, I figured we're 25 minutes in. We might as well get to the topic.
That's true. We should. We should.
It's that snow day second glass of wine.
Yeah.
It's the snow day second glass. That's the new title of this episode. Snow day second glass of wine.
No, we're good. We're gonna stick with Dick Degener.
Dick Degener.
We gotta elevate him. We can put a picture of you on the thumbnail though, with the glass of wine falling over in your chair. We can always add that.
Not falling over my chair.
Yeah. So
all right. But so we've been having a ton of fun. Great stories. Dick Degener. Another great story. Another U of M guy.
And another Olympian.
And Olympian.
Yeah,
all right. So
32 Olympics, 36 Olympics.
All right, right on. Let's talk about
so like, here I'm gonna read a couple articles because I do such a great job. There's so details him
talking about Madonna. I'm 12 years old though, so
you're on your own same page. It's all
right.
Good,
go ahead.
Right, I can carry the show out. So you just sit back there and do your thing.
You're so much quieter normally, Jamie. Shut up.
So anyway, so the thing about so one of the things I want to mention before we even we get into him is that is kind of like how I think we ended either the last show or the show before that, which was it was actually when we were talking about Eddie Tolan, how it was 2 shows ago where we were saying okay, let's say you have a team win their baseball, the World Series, you have a team that win the NFL championship, the Super Bowl, whatever, you have your team win the Stanley Cup. And then you even find a boxer that can stack up against Joe Louis, right?
Sure.
And then you even have a speedboat racer that can go up against Gar Wood, right?
Well, you can't though, but yeah.
But if you miraculous had all of those things, and you wanted to try to compare your city and your season that you're with the City of Champions season, like the next guy on the list that you have to face, that you have to bring to the table to match what Detroit did in 35. is the guy we're about to mention.
All right.
So keep that in mind as we just basically go through just a list of credentials that's just like reading just a list. I mean, it's just we're talking about diving. Okay. He's a diving champion. And so like, I just don't see how you could have like any higher like levels of success or credentials or of the things people said about him at the time. So anyway, so I'm just going to read this article from Detroit Times from April 9th, 1936, because Bob Murphy, who writes this, he's living in his era and he can describe Dick Degener far better than I. So here we go. Detroit has more illustrious champions than any city in the world. And when it comes to mastering the sport in which he excels, Detroit probably has no greater champion than blonde, slender Dick Degener, rated by several outstanding aquatic craftsmen as the greatest diver of all time. Some sports carry more national and international appeal for the masses than others, notably baseball and boxing. And so it is that Dick Degener's name does not occupy the same blazing lights as Mickey Cochran, Joe Louis, Garwood, and others. Degener is the Fred Astaire of the sports world. His performance from the 10-foot board is the acme of grace, form, and timing. He reigns today as the National AAU Indoor 10-foot champion and the National AAU Outdoor 10-foot champion and the National Platform champion, which he won for the first time last year. To impress you on the amazing ability of this Detroiter, he is a much greater favorite to beat the world's finest divers in the Olympics this summer at Berlin than Lewis is to beat Braddock when they meet for the world's heavyweight title in September, which they will. And those who quote the odds will tell you Lewis is as high as 5-1 favorite to beat Braddock. So, talking about the Olympics, only accident can keep Degener from representing U.S. in games. The Olympic tryouts in June will be held in Providence, Rhode Island, and barring a broken leg, train wrecks, plague, or storms, Dick Degener is a cinch to represent this country in international jousting as the 10-foot board diver. Modest as they come, Dick Degener is known as one of the gang. He is one of the most popular figures in swimming. It has been said of Degener that he is one of the few athletes in the world who will gladly coach a rival when that rival is after his title. Degener's record borders on the miraculous. He has not been defeated since 1932 from the 10-foot board, with the exception of the Olympic Games diving events in 1932. In that international jamboree, he missed his 2.5 somersault after being in front of such renowned divers as Mickey Riley, Dutch Smith of Southern California. The miss cost Degener the Olympic title in his final dive. He finished third, but later the same year beat Riley. Degener missed a dive again in 1934, a gainer 1.5 layout if you go in for aquatic terms. This occurred in the indoor nationals at Columbus. Lest you gain the wrong impression by missing does not mean he landed flat as the boys do in the creek back of the old flour mill. It doesn't mean he like belly smacked. He said, by no means. Scoring and diving is done on a basis of 7 for perfect. When Dick gets less than a 7 on a dive, he figures he misses. So he got barely less than a 7 twice. It's like he missed. He's like,
I was talking to one of my, I don't know how
he didn't do a belly smacker.
I don't know how scoring has changed, but I was talking to one of my kids, one of my yearbook kids is on the dive team and he's going to states for diving. And I'm like, well, how many people are you up against? How many people are you going to compete against? And he said there's going to be about 28 people he'll be competing against in the States. I'm like, all right, out of those 28, where do you think you're going to fall? And he's like, well, everybody does like 4 dives and then they narrow it down to a chunk of people and then a handful more dives and they narrow it down. He goes, I'm ranked 22nd out of 28. He's ranked 22nd. He goes, I'm hoping to finish around 18. He goes, that's my goal is to finish around 18. I'm all right, cool. That's honest, reasonable. And I'm like, so what, and then he was trying to explain the scores to me because you have like you got judges for like the performance and then you have a judge for difficulty and then they take the difficulty number and they multiply it by that number. And it's crazy.
Yeah.
The diving
people
scores,
that are into it, they're like totally
he's
into
like,
it.
at this point, my eyes start to spin. I'm like, all right, how about we go with this? Good luck, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The people that are into it are totally into it. They're like, I'm not into it.
But diving scores are nutty.
But he's like, when he says he misses, that's what I thought. I just thought it was funny because
I love it.
It's not like he like belly smacked on the creek out on Flatwater Creek. He's like, he misses by like just, what maybe his elbow wasn't tucked in right or something when he hits a, some certain.
Well, when you get to this higher echelon. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But so the header for the next little segment here. His record since 1932 unequaled by any other diver of modern times. Consistency has been the greatest of his virtues. With the exception of these 2 misses, Dick has hit every dive from the 10-foot board since 1932. This is a record unequaled by any diver of modern times. You can call on Memories Parade and allow such past greats in the springboard to go on parade. Pete Desjardins, Mickey Riley, Dutch Smith, and Al White. Yes, go even further back and you will still find that even such mechanical geniuses as those usually miss one or more dives in each competition. Degener has been awarded more 10s denoting flawless execution than any other diver in history. In 16 competitions off the 10-foot board in national AAU competition, Degener has hit 158 dives. Another thing, at least one judge in every one of those dives has given him a rating of at least 9. Degener has specialized in the 10-foot dive because it is from this level that springboard art is best shown. It also is an Olympic event. Nevertheless, he also has held the national platform and lowboard titles. Now 24 years of age, Degener adopted diving as his specialty at the age of 10 while attending a boys' camp at Island Lake, Michigan. Later that year, Ernie Briggs, swim coach of the Detroit Yacht Club, convinced Dick's father that it'd be well worth the price of $12 for Dick to take 10 lessons in diving. Degener laughingly recalls he took one lesson and decided he knew all there was to know about the business. The other 9 lessons went by the boards. I found out later, said Dick, how little that I did know. I really began to accomplish something in 1928 under Clarence Pinky Pinkston of the DAC. I give him credit for all that I have accomplished as a diver. Pinkston, himself an Olympic champion of years past, looks on Degener as an all-time model of what a diver should be. Matt Mann of the University of Michigan, who also tutored Dick when he was winning honors for the Maize and Blue, including 2 intercollegiate diving titles, joins with such celebrated authorities as Joe Ruddy of the New York Athletic Club, Freddie Spongberg of downtown AC of New York, Bob Kiphuth of Yale, Fred Cady of the Los Angeles AC, and Ernie Brandstein of Stanford in proclaiming this Detroit champion as the greatest diver ever to float through the air. Dick attended Central High School but never won a city prep diving title. He won the Midwestern High School title in 1928 and added the National Interscholastic Championship in 1930. He also competed in the National AAU meet in 1930 but failed to place. He had as his competitors in these meets Mickey Riley and Dutch Smith, who monopolized all national diving titles between 1928 and 1932, when Degener beat both in the National Indoor meet in Yale Pool at New Haven. Those who have thrilled to Degener's rise to the diving heights will tell you he is just as unaffected today as he was when he waddled about the pools of the city as a kid, answering to the name of Sliver because he was so thin. Dick married Eileen Bowman, Detroit socialite, in 1935. At the present time, Dick and a pal, Bill Canton, own a tailoring shop in Ann Arbor and doing very well indeed, thank you. Dick has made it known that he plans to turn professional after the forthcoming Olympics and tour Europe with a group of other swimmers and divers. Yes, when it comes to towering over his field, Detroit boasts no greater champion than Dick Degener, Fred Astaire of the springboard.
Oh, nice.
So, like,
Fred Astaire,
so
the springboard.
He just go, he just, so this, I just thought I like the article because it's a little bit of a.
Who wrote that?
So that was Bob Murphy, the Detroit Times, April. This is right before they wrote this right before the city Champions Day in April. This was April 9th. So it's right before Champions Day. They just wanted to make sure everybody was familiar with this guy before the event.
Yep. So he was one. And if you look on the plaque, right, there's the
Champions Day plaque.
Champions Day plaque
signed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt
and
all the governors. Yeah,
all the governors from or there 50 states at the time. Yeah,
48.
We have 48 at the time. So all 48 governors at the time. There's a little diving. There's the diver on there for him. So he was in high regard in his day. And freaking Chat GPT doesn't know who the hell he is.
Don't crap, dude. Get off the Chat GPT and use your freaking brain. Don't, and for God's sake, anybody listening, don't ever plug into that thing. use your own brain. Use your own, disconnect as much as you can.
I know.
But anyways, we got a couple pictures to show. We got him holding the 1932 gold medal.
Bronze,
I'm sorry. You're correct. You correct me. Thank you. He won the bronze. He missed one dive at the 1932 Olympics. And
phone that one
but he still got the bronze, but then he bounced back in 36 with the gold. But one of the things I loved about him when I was doing research, that's what these next photos are. Like they had the coolest pictures. They just had some amazing photos of him. We put a couple of them up on the screen. And they've got I told you I collected magic eyes.
Yeah.
They call them magic eyes, which was they had this camera with a high speed shutter. Yeah. And so there's this amazing magic eye, which is at left. That was taken off a microfilm. And so it's a magic eye of him diving. They must have had the guy with the camera right under the board as he jumped. And then the picture at right is him at the where was that at? That was at the Detroit Boat Club.
I was gonna say it looks like the boat club down on Belle Isle.
Yeah, so they have the boat club.
I
He's
DJ'd
jumping on.
weddings
Did
in
you
that
did you
place.
really?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. They it's like decrepit.
Really?
I don't one like a
That's
guy.
like kind of cool though, right?
He was my student teacher, and they're refabbing it, but they started doing events while they're refabbing it,
Yeah.
and it's like this is Urban Decay.
Yeah.
It was cool, and when they're done with it, when they get all fixed up, it'll be nice. I hope they hold on to a lot of that original stuff, but you can tell that's the Detroit Boat Club off of Belle Isle.
So they've got these. There's just a ton of they call him that's why they say the Fred Astaire diving. Like he's just got there's just a lot of great pictures. He's always smiling. He's always looking good in the pictures. He's a freaking athlete.
He doesn't look very tall.
Yeah, I don't have his height and weight or anything.
Because in this photo. But they mentioned that he's like so skinny in the article.
They call him Sliver.
Yeah.
So he yeah. So anyway, so we got a couple pictures of him there. One was him, the ones of him diving.
Yep. And then
Yeah. So so anyways, I got another quick quote to read, and this one this was on the internet, but it was on you had to go to the International Swimming Hall of Fame to get this, and I like this because this is just like in that article. He mentions pretty much everything that's on this, but the thing that's good about this is it's just a straight up list of achievements. There's not like a lot of like where he's going, oh, he's the greatest guy doing this.
Yeah. That's a little bit of
this is a story. Fluff. But he's talking about who he is and give him a little bit of there's not a ton of stuff on him. That's why I love this article because it does tell a little bit about his life story a little bit. But this one's cool because it just rattles through all of his accomplishments. And when you kind of read it this way, you just see how this guy is just decorated. I mean, I don't know how you could be any more decorated than Dick Degener. And this comes off his International Swimming Hall of Fame page. And he's also on the U of M Hall of Honor in 1980, I believe it was.
Yeah, and he was the Hall of Fame in 1990 when he got inducted into the swimming.
Swimming says 1971.
International Swimming Hall of Fame in
71 says, I got right on the page, it says 71.
71.
Yeah. The 1971 that he got put in.
All right.
So maybe Chat GPT's giving you the
runaround. It's probably giving me the runaround.
But this is actually off their page and it says inducted 1971. So So anyways, so I'm just gonna read right off of his because it says right here the information on this page was written the year after their induction.
Okay.
So this is closer to the to his achievements and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, for the record, Olympic Games 1932 bronze springboard, 1936 gold springboard, AAU National Outdoor 4 titles in the high board, AAU Nationals Indoor 5, 3 in the 3 meter springboard, 2 in the 1 meter springboard, NCAA titles 3, Big Ten titles 3, National Interscholastic Championships 3. Springboard diving, American style, seems to go by eras, at least as represented by the male divers selected for induction into the International Swimming Hall of Fame. 1936 Olympic champion Dick Degener is no exception to this rule, as he is the most exceptional springboard diver of the 5-year period that coincides with his college years and the period between 1932 and the 1936 Olympics. Degener was the bronze medal winner in the Los Angeles 1932 and the gold medal winner in Berlin 1936. In between, he won 4 outdoor AAU nationals in the high board representing the Detroit Athletic Club and 3 NCAA titles for the University of Michigan. At the indoor AAUs, he won 5 straight 3-meter springboard titles and 2 1-meter titles. This total of 15 nationals in 4 years while remaining undefeated in high board is unprecedented in modern diving. Had 3 10 titles and 3 national interscholastic championships, and you begin to see how Dick dominated the high board until he turned pro with the Billy Rose Aquacade when it opened in Cleveland. Famous for his tight spins and grace, Dick Degener was by the late Dick Pagg and their greatest of all coaches, Clarence and Matt Mann, said merely he was the very best of his era, which is the criteria by which the divers of different eras and on different diving boards must be measured. Best of his era. So if you're going to put a diver against Dick Degener, you better be the best of the era. If you want to check that box.
Well, here's what I like about both of these stacks of information you shared with us. The article in that how the stories it becomes more and more evident how parallel they were, how intertwined they were. With that first article that you read out of the book from who again?
Bob Murphy, Detroit
From
Times.
Bob Murphy. He invokes Joe Louis in his fight, and he invoked somebody else. as
Well,
well.
he said he's not as well known as like Mickey Cochran and
Mickey Cochran,
these guys. Yeah.
So, but he mentioned, but he invokes these other names, and he's like, much the anticipated this, and this was anticipated, and it shows how they're woven together in the same time, because we have 33 stories to talk about.
Yeah.
And they all happened at the same bloody time.
At the same time.
In the same.
That's what I'm saying. All this stuff we're talking about is the
months.
same. It might take us years to get through it, but all this stuff is happening in an incredibly short amount of time. That's why if anybody's that's got a fine ear that's listening to quotes and stuff, they're all coming within a 7-month stretch of time.
And it's how how these authors, they're excited about these other teams, and so they and the city's excited about these other teams and these other performers and other athletes, and they're talking about them in these articles because that's what people are excited about.
And when you're reading the newspapers, you're going through the microfilm. It's like, dude,
I love how it's intertwined.
Yeah, and but what I'm saying, like for somebody that's like reading the newspapers, like in microfilm, and you're going back, like when I was putting the stories together, okay, like what I was doing is I originally I'd have to plunk a quarter in the machine in the thing to print a copy, right? It was 25 cents a print.
And they'd come out thick and greasy.
Yeah, so I put the machines at the Detroit Public Library were terrible, so I'd have to. There's a certain way you spun the quarter in order to register the machine. But then I got wise because what was happening is that I was printing so much every day, it was slowing me down, having to constantly figure out the trigger for the quarter. And so I just told the guy, hey, can I get the key for the machine? And I'll just count the sheets out to you and pay you in cash rather than having to constantly. But what I'm trying to get at is like every single day, I was printing like $20 worth of prints, like every single day. Because you're just going through and you're just like, bzz, bzz, bzz. It's like every single day is another story about a different guy. And when you're looking at it, it's so overwhelming.
And they're interwoven.
Yeah. And they're interwoven. 1 second you're reading about the Tigers and all the stuff the Tigers are doing. And, this guy's doing this. And then the very next page is someone on Dick Degener, a diver. And you're like,
and then they're using Joe Louis as an example and Mickey Cochran as an example in that story.
It's so like I had to.
So interwoven.
The only thing I could do was like, I just had to print it all up. What I did was I spent almost 2 years printing all this stuff up. And then I spent like probably 3 months sorting it all out. Once I had a stack that you wouldn't even believe worth of paper, and then I just sorted it, and I put it into its relevant, piles for each player and all this. And then that's when you could finally, that's when you could like search like everything. I would just focus on each person as I went to go write their story with like the stack of information that I would have on them, from just calling it from like a whole 2 years worth of newspaper clippings and stuff.
All right, so there's some other images,
but they're interwoven. They're interwoven. It took what I'm trying to say is in order to unwind it to put their stories together, it was a there was a process, dude. Yeah.
So, but Dick Degener, the Detroit Times has a sport stamp. You got an image of that up there. What do we?
Well, I put that on there.
And so let's describe it if people are listening to the audio.
Yeah. So what it is. So in the in the books, like that was one of the things I tried to show was like there's all the different sort of like little memorabilia and collectibles and stuff. Like one of the things they issued in the Detroit Times that they were like to get people to like buy their newspapers.
I wish
the
Detroit Times was still around.
Dude, the Detroit Times is so awesome. At one point I was.
Let's relaunch it.
Well, the Detroit
with an Orbit magazine weekend insert.
Well, the Detroit News
owns
the Detroit News.
Millionaires next week if we do that.
Detroit News bought the Detroit News bought their, from what I understand, when the Times folded, the Detroit News bought their rights in order to acquire their circulation lists,
right?
So that they could then double their circulation by saying, "Hey, the Times doesn't exist anymore, but subscribe to us."
And we got the Orbit.
So they theoretically
magazine,
they own the rights to the Detroit Times. But what I've always thought about was how awesome it would be to buy the Times rights from the Detroit News and launch that newspaper back in its operations.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, the two can't survive as it
It'd be the coolest thing.
Should have, would have,
the Detroit Times was. I mean, they have the Metro Times now, but the Detroit Times newspaper being relaunched, it was like,
all right, but
it was the greatest newspaper. I loved it. It's my favorite.
And then we're sharing here on the screen.
But the sports stamp was a collectible.
Stamp?
It was
did they do it for like?
So it looks like it's got the little stamps. What it is?
I haven't seen this for any of the other. Like you figure like Mickey Cochran would have one, Joe Louis would have.
They do. That's why I put this up.
Okay.
If anything, I'm guilty of not putting them up for the other players and teams. We'll start putting more of them up.
Are they in the books?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every time I came across a sports stamp, I got the shot of it and then put it in the book. Cool. So That's what I'm saying is the reason I put that there is to show.
I mean, we might have seen him. It's like,
I may not have put him on the
90 episodes.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of images.
I may not have put them all.
It's
up.
not triggering for me, and I was like, "Oh, this is very cool."
Yeah, I may not put it up, I think I put it up for Babe Ruth and in the Joe Louis,
right?
Because what they would do was they would show a national athlete, like one of the major sports stars in the country, and then sort of like have him parallel with a Detroit athlete. These are all from 1936. These sports stamps.
Yeah,
and
I love this picture of him. He's like so fresh faced and happy. He's like looks like such a happy dude.
Yeah, sure he is. Yeah, but the sports stamps were cool because a lot of times they would put him with the national, with the sort of and I didn't have the national accompaniment of his, but like for Joe Louis, they have him partnered with Babe Ruth.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, neat. Okay.
So for who was it? There's all kinds of different ones. There's one, I forgot, but each player is like attached to another guy that's like a national star to try to give him a little bit of context. I think I just had his stamp. I don't think I had his accompaniment national athlete. I think because a lot of times the people would clip them. You know what I mean? They would just clip the stamp out, and then so you just have the one guy. You don't know like who he was partnered with.
Okay, and so
that's what the case with this one. But what I'm saying is that he was worthy of putting on a sports stamp.
Right.
Just like, I mean, if you look through the books, you're going to see like all these other like tigers, lions, all the stars, all have a sports stamp, and so does he.
Well, talking about all the stars, and Champions Day and the Champions Day celebration, there's another picture that we have up on the screen in tandem with this. And this picture, I'm looking at the names: Jack Adams, Mickey Cochran, Potsy Clark, Joe Louis, Dick Degener.
Yeah, he's there with them.
So that's a group photo. That's crazy. Is this from Champions Day?
They did a Champions Day radio broadcast where each of those figures describe their like favorite parts of the story.
Okay, so holy crap. I mean, if
I want to hear that net radio program too, by the way. If we don't have any access to getting that radio broadcast from Champions Day, they broadcast. Yeah, it was right then in your notes because I think it was WXYZ. Yeah, it says on the clip there, the clipping there, which radio broadcast, but they broadcasted from I think it was on Champions Day, a radio broadcast with all those guys talking about their favorite events of the year. So how awesome would that be to put on here? I've never heard it.
I don't know if I don't know if they got records.
Their archives?
No. I don't think there is.
Write it down anyway.
I am. No, it's because I
well, go down there and dig
I will.
You might find it in a box somewhere. It says 36 awesome city of champions.
All right, there was a great Detroit broadcaster, Mark Scott, and he was like a talk radio host, and he passed away, but he was like after he got let go from the station. And then changing hands and changing call letters, and then there was this whole big box of DAT tapes because we're moving away from DAT and everything was digital, and then I was looking at these. I was dumpster diving in the big trash bins while we were cleaning out the studios and revamping, and one of the DAT tapes was Mark Scott's last broadcast.
Yeah,
and it was in the trash.
Yeah,
well, and so I grabbed it, and I'm like, and I got to put it up someplace. So Mark Scott fans can hear it.
Well, you would know where to look for that better than I do. And so
I'm saying the likelihood of this being around, I don't know, man. I'm gonna check because I got.
If it is, dude,
I got fired about a year and a half ago but I got 17 years of friends back there.
Well, what I'm saying though is imagine if it is there and we could broadcast it on Champions Day again.
Oh yeah,
that'd be amazing.
I would. I'm gonna dig.
So that newspaper, and if you need more, I might have another clipping that gives you a little bit scrap of information on top of what's there.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is that but the cool thing about that photo is that you've got the four biggest stars of that year, which those are the main figures of all the stories we've told so far. Mickey Cochran, Jack Adams, and Potsy Clark and Joe Louis.
Yeah,
and then right there with them is Dick Degener. He wasn't a second fiddle. This guy was a star in his day.
And it's not like he's like looking like, oh, do I belong here?
Yeah,
he's like, I belong here.
Hell yeah, he does. This is Fred Astaire of diving. These guys.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. This is a very cool photo.
Yeah.
It's and
I've got another one too. This is the better shot, but I have another photo of the same thing. And the other one
it frames him in as important as he is, and yet again, like we've said it's a broken record. The story is going on. It has gone untold.
Yeah,
and we're trying to correct that.
Yeah, but that's another reason why it's good to even do this episode talking about him, because he was part of the story, you know.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if this photo, once you like, especially for
I'd love to find some of his family stuff.
Yeah, well, what's cool about this photo is once like, look how far we've come after 89 episodes. You know, when we first started, Jamie, you knew nothing about. I mean, you knew the baseline stuff, but now when you see that photo,
I knew Detroit had sports teams. That's what I knew.
Yeah, I know. But now, after sort of you serving as a proxy in this moment for those who may not have also known, when you look at that photo, you look at that as like that is the greatest photo ever. Like, look at the legends.
I love this.
I know.
I love this photo.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is when you finally understand, when you finally recognize who, like, how the
importance of
these people, of that,
and the importance of Richard himself.
And the thing is that if we hadn't done this particular episode, that guy would just be sort of a sidekick. Nobody would ever know who's that guy.
Was he holding Joe's hat?
Yeah,
for him?
Was he like a little reporter guy or something?
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, he is, but that's what I'm saying. That's like the importance of this stuff, is that when anybody sees this stuff, you recognize that photo for what it is, and for what it was in its day, which was 5 superstars in their expertise, all of whom had brought incredible glory to Detroit and established Detroit sports in this singular year where Detroit sports had not existed prior.
I love how it was coming to fruition in the article there. And mentioning the other people and how it's intertwined. So you have a couple other images in here.
Yeah. So that's kind of where.
What else do you want to tell me about? I like this Billy Rose's Aquacade.
So I want to just kind of end it with something.
What is the Billy Rose's Aquacade?
So this is as we're kind of done talking about that. Like, that's where Dick Degener left it at, in 35. Is the AAU championships and like everything you could possibly have.
So I mentioned my student who's going to States for diving. So Cooper, good luck. And but I want to mention my nephew-in-law.
Yeah,
the dude that married my niece.
Sure, sounds about right.
Yeah. They met at Eastern. She was there as a dance scholarship. He was there on a swim and dive scholarship.
Yeah,
he's a diver. So he was a platform diver, and he's like him and his like diving buddies. These people, diving people, they're out their damn minds.
Yeah, dude. I'm not jumping out there.
Diving people, they are seriously. And they were like, they would so they got the platforms. You got this platform, that platform, and the really high platform. They would get on the really high platform and then get ladders and then climb into the scaffolding of the arena and then dive out of the scaffolding of the arena. It's like Dakota, my nephew, Dakota. It's like, dude, you're a nutball. And then he would in the summer, in college, he would do worlds at like the state fair and like
fairs, that's what we're about to talk about with this
and truck pulls. Yeah, I mean, just recently he would my nephew Dakota would do this. He's a circus freak.
Yeah,
he would be jumping off of like these big platforms into like Dixie cups of water.
Yeah,
it's
that's what I mean. Like,
he's like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
So when I saw these,
it
reminded me of my boy Dakota.
And I saw a side story. It was kind of a little bit of an aside, and it didn't specifically talk about Dick Degener, but it talked about divers in the 36 Olympics. They were just partying like every night, and they said that like a whim fan. He attended, like he would bounce from event to event. And one of the events that he was because a German diver, those are saying that in one of these German guys to win the gold, and that he was like massively disappointed, kind of like the Jesse Owens. They were kind of like it was like almost like if it wasn't for the Jesse Owens story, then this story would have been
bigger,
that same kind of thing, because it like they Dick Degener embarrassed Germans, the Germans top guy or whatever in front of Hitler. But anyways,
there's an image here about the Aquacade, Billy Rose's Aquacade.
Yeah. So one of the little like kind of footnotes in the stories we just read there was that it said that prior to him going pro, right? So they said prior to Dick Degener turning professional diver, right? He won the 36 Olympics because he went pro in 1937. So this takes place a little bit outside the scope of our story, but it's still, I think it's really interesting, and I want to end it talking about this. Because you go down, it's just like kind of like YouTube.
So I once you start a circus freak,
and it's also kind of like
I love my circus freaks.
Well, we've talked about this in a previous episode, how like a story that's like relevant. Okay, we're talking about Dick Degener because he's a component of the City of Champions story, and it serves as sort of a beacon of which like we focus on Dick Degener for a moment, and then like we also see some other cool stuff that we may never have even thought about or seen had it not been for the fact that we're looking at this guy, right?
All right, what do we got?
And so 37, Dick Degener turns pro, but what he does is he doesn't just like go like, hey, I'm gonna make money off diving like in a random college pool or something, right? No, like
diving
just like you're talking about.
Water
there you
at the
go.
State
It's
Fair.
Freak stuff. It's cool. It's entertainment. Is how you do these diver stuff, and that's what he does. So he goes, and so 37, he joins this Billy Rose Aquacade.
This is so Gatsby again.
Yeah, it's Gatsby as you could get.
People listening to the audio podcast. This is again another one.
Well, listen. There's so much
worth a jump.
This is the thing. If you're
Google
listening to
search.
this on audio, look up, and I'm going to say it slowly so you can read it for you, so you can type it in yourself. The Billy Rose Aquacade. Yep. Okay. So Aquacade. And so this, if there's
Gatsby.
so much stuff online about this, once you look it up, I just grabbed a few of my favorite things on there. But what it was,
did he end up working in this?
Yes.
All right.
And so what it was, and this is just incredible to me. So what it was this guy named Billy Rose, who was this guy, he was like a promoter. He was a filmmaker. He was an entertainer. This guy has hands in everything.
Guy? Wasn't he Jim Rose circus?
I have no idea about
All right,
that.
go ahead.
But this guy just like used to put on shows, like put on all kinds of stuff. He was an entertainer. He was making movies. This guy had his hands in all kinds of different entertainment things, right? But what he created is just the coolest thing. In 1937, he had this floating stage, on these like, it was on a barge, right? He had this big barge. It was a stage on this floating stage. It was on the Cleveland riverfront in 1937, and it was for the where is it? It was for the it was what was it for? It was the 30. They had a Great Lakes
the Great Lakes Exposition.
Thank you, Jamie. Great Lakes Exposition. And so what it was they wanted to like feature all this cool. It was kind of like a World's Fair.
It was like Labor Day Memorial Day.
It was like a World's Fair, but for the Great Lakes region. And so they featured this thing. What it was a floating stage. They built this massive like auditorium, like an amphitheater, basically like an amphitheater on the coast, on the edge of the water. And then so this barge is floating off of the shore in Cleveland. And this is my favorite photo of it. Yeah. And what it was like you would imagine like the Ice Capades or something, right? But they had like every great big name diver doing they had divers, they had swimmers, they had all kinds of stuff. And it was a performance. And so they had like Johnny Weissmuller, who was famous, of course, for playing Tarzan. He was the first Tarzan.
Yeah.
Johnny, in his day, he was like a big diver and stuff. And so anyways, they had this like huge performance, and it was this amphitheater held 5,000 people. We got a couple aerial shots here, these old postcards. And it's just, imagine this floating stage in there. You go to, you're going to this thing, you're sitting in this auditorium, in this amphitheater on the coast, on the riverfront.
Sure.
And there's this massive floating stage with the greatest divers and swimmers in the world. And they're doing acrobatics. They're doing with the choreographed, like, what's it called when the women kick their legs up in the air in the water at the same time, whatever that's called. They had like it was a show. It was
water
a big
ballet.
Ballet. They had all this stuff, and it was all choreographed. Where you got Dick Degener, a gold medalist, who just won it like a year before in Berlin, diving off something,
leaping off the top of the building there through a roof of fire and into doing
all kinds of weird stuff. And it was like, and I'm just like, that is like the coolest thing, man. Like, where do you see anything like that anymore? These people had imagination.
Wisconsin,
what they had stuff like that there?
I don't know. No,
I want to go see it
because we went on a family vacation like in '76. And we were in Wisconsin and the Wisconsin Dells, and we went, and there was like this it's a water ski show that we watched, and it was like the Go-Go's in the 80s. One of their videos was them pretending to be like glammed out in 70s water ski. But then we actually in 76 we actually went to see one of those, and I'm pretty sure it was in Wisconsin. But yeah, that's fantastic.
But so this is a floating stage.
This scene
That thing is amazing.
Would any exposition or any feature at either Universal or Disney, they would look at this and go, damn, that's good.
Yes, that thing
This
is
is like a step
massive.
up from anything you would find at Disney or Universal.
It's
right now.
amazing. They have a floating stage.
Right now, you got to put on 3D goggles and get water spritzed at you from behind you while you're watching a movie. This was real.
Yeah,
This is like
and
people like really doing.
Yeah, and
really
it
crazy
wasn't.
stuff.
And if you're looking at and if you can't see the picture, I'll describe it. I mean, this is like it's. And when I say stage, I say that with the
It's a city block.
Yeah, this is like. I mean, there's a building. It's a building floating on a barge.
City. It's not a building. It's a city block.
Yeah, it's a block. It's a massive barge thing with this huge set. And so, anyways, it was so popular.
Billy Rose.
It was so popular. There was the amphitheater held 5,000 people, and it was so popular that it ran for 2 years. And then it went to the World's Fair in New York in 1939.
Wow.
So in the World's Fair, that's where those
time to ramp up the game for the World's Fair.
Yeah, the color pictures, the ones that are all colored pictures, those show the what it looked like at the World's Fair, like the aerial of the World's Fair. But what the feature element it was at. So there's one of the postcards on there, that one right there.
Fireworks.
It's this great like postcard with all these crazy fireworks. This looks like so futuristic, man. Like this looks futuristic for us today. Like this if you can't see it, look up if you look online and just look for again the Billy Rose Aquacade,
Lagoon of Nations
at the New York World's Fair 1939, and you just see this postcard which like I want to be there, man. It's like so nostalgic but futuristic. It's like this Art Deco future world. Like it's almost like imagining like what the world would look like in the most idyllic future ever. It's just like so the picture that it is so friggin' cool. And it says night view of Lagoon of Nations, New York World's Fair. That's what this picture says. And it is just so, and like, so this, the Billy Rose Aquacade was the featured exhibit at the Lagoon of Nations at the New York World's Fair. Like that is the biggest thing. And like,
yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So imagine, so they towed that floating stage from Cleveland to New York so it could make its appearance at the New York World's Fair as the Lagoon of Nations. You know, like, man, this era and these people were so friggin' cool, man. They were so friggin' cool. Like, and this is just like I say, and like, so when we say Dick Degener went pro, right? He went pro.
Yeah.
This is what he did.
Yeah.
He was a featured star. He's a featured star at the Billy Rose Aquacade. So for all of our listeners at home, like, you know, like if you know what the Billy Rose Aquacade was, like you're as cool. You are cool, right? You're as cool as I feel.
That's about as cool as it gets.
Yeah, like I feel like I didn't know about this prior to today.
Yeah.
And so I feel like
you were
I've
today
learned
years
something.
old.
I always remember like I was today years old when I first learned about like
Billy
one
Rose.
of the coolest things I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Because it's so like, and I before I left, I was looking for it just on YouTube, and I saw a ton of YouTube videos on it too. So probably when I get done with the show, I'm probably going home. I'm gonna be like looking at. They may have the performance there, on the YouTube. So look it up, man. Throw some likes and subscribes towards anybody that posted the Billy Rose Aquacade has got great taste. You tell them the City of Champions show sent you.
Well, yeah, we'll try to find them and put links in if they're out there.
Man, we could do a show that just breaks that down and some of this. Man, I would love to show that if we could get permission, because we got flagged for showing a video.
We got spanked. Had
for the Eddie Tolan race.
The Eddie Tolan photo finish. We got slapped on the wrist for that one. So
yeah, we got to watch. We don't want to. And there's also, forgot to mention too.
Yeah,
there's also a video which I didn't tell you because I wasn't sure if we're gonna get flagged by putting it up. But if you type in, so there's a video of Dick Degener diving at the 1936 Olympics, which shows like how good of it shows how great of it. I mean, it's just a straight dive. He doesn't do any like tricks or anything. But one of the what you notice, I think, from looking at him and also from some stuff that I read about like what kind of defined him was like when he jumped off the board. It was like he jumped and for for like a second or two, it was like he was flying. Like he had his that was what defined him, was he had this like appearance as though he was like like Icarus flying too close to the sun or something like that. You know what I mean? Like he was like, he wasn't like when he jumps off the board, and I'll tell you the link that you can go check out for yourself to see what I'm talking about. When he jumps off the board, for the first second or two that he's off the board, he's not diving towards the water. It's like he's like flying, right? And then the landing in the water is like how he just comes back down to earth. That's what I got from him diving. So like he has this like almost like ethereal look on his face, and like he jumps off the board and he's like, for a moment, he is in flight. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of his style. And from what I read was, from the things I was reading, I saw a couple different spots that did say about him that was what he like brought. That was like the innovation he brought to diving, was that component, which was that he had this like this kind of majesty when he jumped off the board. Like he had this like where he kind of floated in the air for a moment. So the link that you just type in Dick Degener and this is going to come up.
Yeah.
But if you want the specific link that I'm talking about, I mean, his jump is the very first 1 second of the video. And what it is it's a 1 minute highlight reel of aquatic sports. Oh, there it is. Are you showing? You got it?
I got the.
Just show the first 1 second. We can't get flagged. There it is, like this. Look at this.
I got the video. I got the audio
him right
muted.
there.
So
yeah,
it's normally the audio that triggers the grabs from it.
But the first dive is his. If you go back to the very first dive, that's him.
Right. Let me go back to yeah, you're right. The way he comes off there,
when he jumps,
it's like he's like Superman flying.
Yeah, he is. It's almost like he is jumping into the sky, and then like. See that? You see him talking about?
He floats for
he's got his chest up into the sky, and then he just goes straight in.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like that's what's like. I've never really. The only diving, I'll be honest, I've ever really focused on was in Back to School with the triple Lindy with Rodney Dangerfield, which is like the greatest dive.
One of my favorites.
Yeah. But this right there, you can see it when you actually look and see that 1 second. And for those that can't see it, it's again, you look up Dick Degener, you're gonna find it on the thing.
Popped right up.
But what you're gonna look, but the actual video we're looking at is it says 1936 aquatic sports, talking about the Olympics, and then the channel is myfootage.com. Is the channel we were looking at. And it's like the first 1 second, and like you can see what I'm talking about. Like, dude, when he jumps off the board, he's like I'm in flight. Yeah, and then he's like, okay, now I'm coming back to Earth. but when I come back to Earth, I'm going to do it in the smoothest, slickest, sharpest way. You know, I'm going right into the water.
No splashes whatsoever.
Yeah. So anyways, I am actually going to go and look at this Billy Rose Aquacade.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see if I can find his parts in that, because that would be amazing to be able to isolate some of the stuff he did. Because again, I know it kind of takes place outside the boundary of the 35, but you know what, man, dude,
what these people, what these
cool,
guys and gals did, because there's some ladies we'll be talking
there's totally tons of we got ladies coming up
what
too.
These guys and gals did in 1935 is just and ponies.
Yeah, we got everything. Horses, we got checkers players, we got there's so many other
I think there's world champion chickens we have with some no,
pigeons.
That's not true.
This is number so we've got 4. This is really the 8th champion.
Tell me the Iditarod winner from 1935 was from Detroit,
awesome.
Please.
No, that'd be the greatest thing.
All right, there we go. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you for joining us. Wearingfunny.com is a great place to get some City of Champions t-shirts. Cityofchampions.com is a great place to get City of Champions t-shirts and books and more
also
information.
Amazon if you want to pay Amazon if you want to pay $70.
Yeah, if you want to pay $70 for a copy with the max stuff.
Go to Amazon.com. It's $6 for a used book or $70 for a new one.
Yeah.
Like you're so middle, you know. It's not like it's just so funny is I'm so used to buying books on Amazon, and you go, you look at it, and you go, the new is like $24.95, right? And then they're like, or buy used for like $14,
Yeah.
And this is like buy new, it's like $70. You're like, or buy used for $6.
200% markup.
$3.
300% markdown.
Yeah, it's You're like, you're going, that's a nice, you're like, you don't really have much middle ground on that, man.
But all right, cityofchampions.com. There's a cool links there. And then any if you're listening to this on Facebook, watching on Facebook or YouTube, it's available on all podcast outlets. Just any podcast app, find it. You'll find us.
We're on everywhere.
And if you're listening on the podcast apps, there's video versions of this as well. You get to see Charles and I waving our hands, and then some of the images go
keep
along
following,
with it.
We got some stuff lining up, man. We've got our friends in Portsmouth want us to come back down for another show later on this year, and we got we're lining up all kinds of stuff, and we're
Champions Day if you're in the Metro Detroit area or even in just the Midwest in general. We'll have a couple events that we do out on the street that you can join us at a pub or at a museum.
Yeah, we're talking about doing City Champions Days coming up. April 18th,
my favorite is sitting there with the Miss America.
Oh, Miss America's awesome, man.
So
my favorite was this Portsmouth. Portsmouth was my favorite.
Oh my God, yeah.
That show was my favorite we've ever done. But that was an amazing day too. The Miss America 10.
Yeah.
Like you're like in the presence of that boat, and that boat is like there's just nothing like that thing, man.
Yep.
I would love to have a party there or something, dude. That like on the grounds of the
we did we got my other podcast, Man Cave Happy Hour. They do events there at the Packard.
know.
And so we recorded the Man Cave.
Thanks for the invite.
We
Sorry, I'm not part of that super show.
It was the Whiskey Classic. Yeah. They did the Whiskey winter
like
Whiskey
everybody
Classic.
Knows about it. Like, well, everybody was at the Whiskey Classic.
Everybody was there.
I wasn't there. I didn't get here to hear about it. Jamie's got his old other special show, and we started,
and there was like the guy from Benchmark Distributors, and they have a tequila brand. Padron.
Patron.
No, not Patron.
Oh, okay.
A different tequila, the one with the little skull on the top of it. Anyway, the big guys from Benchmark and their tequila, and so we did a bunch of tequila before we got to the whiskey tasting. We did a whole round of tequila.
Thanks for the invite.
Oh my gosh, it was.
You didn't even hear about it.
Nutty.
You're gonna tell me how you had a good time
nutty. And then we went and took a nap in the Miss America.
Oh my God. Man, you guys are a bunch of jerks. I get to do.
They had cigars out in the tent.
Jamie's got his other VIP fancy show, and then he slums it over here at the City Champions podcast.
All right, but yeah,
no thanks. Jamie's like, I had the greatest time of my whole life.
Oh,
and then you're like, my favorite time ever was at the Packard, and I'm like, oh really? Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, I remember. Like,
no, I had more fun. I had more fun broadcasting in front of the Miss America.
You're like, man,
than I did drinking that tequila.
I'm like, no, I don't remember that part.
You're
like, no, that was a different show where we were at the Packard plant getting free drinks, and skull vodka, and having the time of our lives. Oh, that was that. No, that was that's right.
I had more fun. I had more fun. The Miss America episode was much.
No, I loved it. No, it was a great show.
Way better than that.
Anyway, we got other stuff coming up too, so you guys got to check us out.
But thank you for being with us, and thanks for suffering through the snow day episode.
No, we're good. That day we're just broadcasting.
That's fun. All right, so we'll do it again very, very soon. Thanks for being with us. It's Detroit, the City of Champions.